I called it puppy love. Oh, I guess that.
Greetings from Castle Goring from Mickey, Diesel, Babe, and Aurora. I am being ravished with love. Oh, there's Babe, there's Diesel. Oh, I just thought things can be so disagreeable and unpleasant that isn't it just necessary to have a spiritual bath of puppy love? And so, without further ado, I will get Aurora to say goodbye. Then I will get Diesel to say goodbye. And I will get Babe to say goodbye. And I will resume in a minute. Well, the two old ladies are delighted to be able to settle down without too many infantile distractions to go into really rather more infantile subjects, but less loving and agreeable. First of all, however, I have been asked to give a shout out to somebody called Alan McRae, and it is my pleasure to do so. His goddaughter has asked me to do it, and the circumstances are special, and I am delighted to do it. And now, having done that, Mickey and I are going to plunge in with something from Jane T, who says, Lady C, I always enjoy your videos, but I was so proud, big block capitals, and I'm boasting here, by the way. That's why I'm reading this out. I'm boasting of you on the recent interview with Dan Wooten. You respectfully disagreed with the other two guests when needed. You nailed it. You had the courage to say what was needed. This was a video. Actually, it wasn't a video. It was a TV program on GB News night before last called The Clash. It was Dan presenting with Katie Nicholl, who is one of the superior and genuinely proper royal correspondents, and David Emmanuel, who with his wife designed Diana's wedding dress. And the subject, of course, was Harry and Meghan, etc., etc. And we did not always agree. And so I made my points, which I will get to via the questions, because I have to tell you, I am so proud of the questions that I get asked that half the time it's worth reading them out because they provide proper answers. So we have conversations in reality done via the comments page. And yes, I'm glad, Jane T, that you thought I said what needed to be said, because I thought it was a very important issue. It was, well, I will get to that via the questions for those of you who haven't seen the programme. Margaret Smith said, Lady C, I have just seen your video, your interview. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I think the puppies have thrown me. Your interview on GB News, and I must applaud you for defending the common man and woman and defending our view that Has and Megs are not required or wanted on that balcony for the Jubilee celebrations. Good on you for having the courage to speak up publicly. Well done. Well, Katie was suggesting that it might be a healing gesture to have Harry and Meghan there, as was David. I have to say I took strong exception with that line, And Katie agreed with me because I said I've got tens of thousands of comments and letters from people who have said they strongly disapprove of Harry and Meghan's presence on that balcony. Because if the Queen wants to kiss and make up with her grandson, that doesn't alter the fact that the Jubilee celebrations are a state occasion. It's not a family occasion. That was my point. And it's a state occasion celebrating her Jubilee. And while she can forgive the sinner privately and come to terms with the sin, the public do not feel so inclined to do so, because the public were also trashed and also abused, and they don't like it. And therefore, I think it would be a big mistake to have Harry and Meghan on that balcony or in any way participating officially in the Jubilee celebrations, because they didn't only trash the monarchy, they trashed the British nation. And the Queen is the Queen of this nation. And people have spoken in their many thousands saying that they don't want Harry and Meghan on that balcony. And they have a right to not want them on the balcony, because Meghan and Harry didn't only lie about the family, they lied about the reception that the British people accorded her. So, if the Queen wants to forgive her grandson, fine. Until the British people do, I don't think he should be on that balcony. And I don't care who I antagonise, that's my sentiment. SPS says, Dear Lady C, you were magnificent in today's Dan Wooten show. You are the only one to make the point. The Platinum Jubilee is not a family affair, it's a state affair celebrating the sovereign's 70th year on the throne. Thank you for making that point so clearly and adamantly. SPS, it was my duty. I wouldn't have said it was a pleasure, but it was my duty. Integrity requires, and this the Queen knows because the Queen has integrity, and integrity requires that you take unpopular stands and that you consider all the elements before coming to a considered decision. And it is a state occasion, it's not a family occasion. Not that I'm telling her what to do, she can do whatever she wants, but there will be a price to pay if Harry and Meghan are on that balcony. And I'm a royalist, and therefore I would hope that the family understands it's not a price worth paying. You don't embrace the asp and try to pass it off as a Cartier necklace when everyone knows it is an asp that will not only throttle you, but poison you. Miranda says, I think it could spoil the Queen's Jubilee celebrations if the dastardly duo are invited onto the balcony. If they are booed by the crowd, it would be a huge embarrassment for the Queen and the other members of her family. It certainly would be, but that's not the real issue. The real issue is that Harry and Meghan lied about the British people's reception with regards to Meghan's inclusion in the royal family. And until such time as Meghan and Harry fess up to their lie and ask for the public's forgiveness, the public has an absolute right to not forgive them. As simple as that. You know, the whole business of forgiving people when they do not in the slightest degree display any acknowledgement of their error is really seriously unfounded. People need to ask for forgiveness before you forgive them. Marion Thompson says, otherwise, may I say, you're giving them a free pass to do it again. Marion Thompson says, as the Jubilee is about Her Majesty the Queen, it would be preferable if only Her Majesty the Queen is on the balcony surrounded by her guardsmen. That would solve the problem. Marion Thompson, that's a very resourceful suggestion, and I have read it out because it is a very resourceful suggestion. I would recommend that you write into Sir Edward Young, the Queen's private secretary, and to Donald McCabe, her press secretary, and make that point. And anyone else who agrees with Marion Thompson, please feel free to write in as well. Your thoughts and your opinions can only be considered once they are expressed. William Evans says, Lady C, an excellent episode as always. I've just also seen your appearance on a UK TV news channel discussing whether Meghan and Harry should attend the Jubilee celebrations, and was delighted to hear that you have the same view as I do, namely that the Jubilee is a state occasion and not a family event, and that, as such, the views of the majority of Her Majesty's subjects, as can be ascertained, should be taken into consideration when deciding on those appearing in public with Her Majesty. One solution might be to include on the balcony only those in the direct line of succession, plus members of the family who are so-called working royals. That is, those who actively represent Her Majesty at official events, and their spouses, including Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, Her Royal Highness His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, Her Royal Highness Princess Alexandra, His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester, and his Duchess, may I point out. That would avoid the difficulty of whether or not to include Harry, Meghan and Prince Andrew, while reflecting the professed wishes of both Prince Charles and Prince William to reign as heads of a slimmed-down monarchy. Do you think this could be a feasible way around the difficulties? William Evans, I do think it is a very constructive and feasible way around the difficulties. It's not a dog and pony show. It's not the Meghan and Harry fuss. It is the celebration of a unique event. And the British people don't want people who have betrayed them, as well as the royal family, to be waving at them. They don't want it. They have expressed it in their tens of thousands to me, and they have expressed it to Katie Nicholl as well. She confirmed that on GB News. Billy Johnson says, Lady C, and may I also say, and if people have expressed it to me and to Katie, as I made the point on GB News, they will doubtless have expressed it to the palace, and the palace needs to listen in this instance, because it's not a family affair. It is a state occasion, and the British people have been damaged and wounded by Harry and Meghan. They have a right to have their objections not only heard, but respected. It's rather like if the spouse of an abusive partner decides that they want to forgive them, but the rest of the family and everybody else who was at the event and was also abused and might also have been damaged don't want to forgive them. They have an absolute right not to, especially when the recalcitrant party has expressed no regret. This is what morality and integrity are all about. Julie Billy Johnson says, Lady C, it's been announced that Thomas Markle is being flown over here as a guest of GB News to attend the Jubilee. How appropriate do you think that is? I have a great deal of sympathy for Mr. Markle. He is the living embodiment of King Lear, and his daughter Meghan is the absolute living embodiment of the two faithless, thankless ingrates, Goneril and Regan. And you notice Regan and Meghan are not that dissimilar. And if you combine them, you get something that's suspiciously like a disease called gonorrhea. And I would respectfully submit that Meghan is a disease called gonorrhea. I know as a fact, because when I was writing my book, I was approached by somebody who stated that they were approaching me on behalf of Prince Harry, and that Prince Harry wanted me to know X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, why Meghan couldn't ever reconcile with her father. And I went ballistic. The whole incident is covered very gently and carefully for legal reasons in the last 3 pages of my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story. I have to tell you, I think on purely moral grounds, Mr. Markle has been so wronged, and he deserves to be treated with the dignity that any good father, and his daughter confirmed he was a good father until 2 weeks before she met Harry. She was confirming what a wonderful father he was. And either she was lying then, which I don't think she was, or she's lying now, because I know what she's told Harry, and I have the strongest objection to what she's told Harry. And I think that Mr. Markle, he doesn't realise the enormity of it. And may he go to his grave without ever realising the enormity of it. Because I think it will be devastating for any father to realise how totally thankless his daughter is, and how he doesn't know the person he thought he knew. And his position as the father of a royal duchess requires that he be treated with the dignity that the position deserves. There are nuances to this whole situation which I'm not going to waste my time or yours to get into. The fact of the matter is, in life, you need to take the high ground and do the right thing, even when it is awkward to do so. And I don't see why Thomas Markle should crawl into the woodwork as if he's a worm when he's been a good father. And I think the royal family are in a position to assist in the re-dignification of this unfortunate man. And I think they and everybody else who has the opportunity to do so should do so. That's the right thing to do. what I know of Thomas Markle, and I know quite a bit about Thomas Markle, because one of my oldest and closest friends is an old and close friend of someone who knows Thomas Markle very well and has known him well over a period of years. And it was not a personal relationship. Mickey has come to join us. Her name is Gigi Perot. She was a child star. She was Meghan's drama teacher. She is an old friend of one of my oldest friends, whose name, I'll tell you her name. Her name is Elaine Trebek Carries. She was married to Alex Trebek. I met Elaine before she met and married Alex. I've known Elaine for 50 years. And Gigi Perot has nothing but good to say about Thomas Markle, who was generous and unstinting in the gift of his time and his professional abilities while Meghan was at that school over a period of years. He also simply wants to reconcile with his daughter. I personally don't think it's going to be possible, because I don't think, and this is just my personal take on it, and hopefully I am wrong, I don't think it's going to be possible, because the reality of Thomas Markle does not accord with the narrative that Gonorrhegan has told her husband. And there is no way that marriage can survive if she acknowledges that all that she said about her father was embroidery. I really don't see what choice Thomas Markle has except doing what he's doing or crawling under a rock as if he's a worm. And he's not a worm. He didn't come from under a rock. I don't see why he should go back under a rock. Meghan is the one who has sought the limelight. He never did. He has been forced into the limelight. And I think he ought to be given a chance for the world to see him as he truly is, which I understand is a thoroughly decent man. And if that means that accommodations have to be made, they have been made for every other person who entered the royal family and their families. Thomas Markle is unique in that he is the only person, and I know as a fact, that the royal family wanted to send assistance to pave his way, and Meghan and Harry are the ones who stopped it. Why, you have to ask yourself. It's all explained in my book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story. If you want an in-depth answer, I'm afraid you have to get the book and read it. Reverend says, oh my gosh. Lady C, there is coverage across the pond that BetterUp's coaches are getting ready to sue the company for unethical practices, and the company has been stonewalling them and refusing to answer their queries about Prince Harry's status, exactly what he does, how much he's being paid, whether he has share options, has been given shares, etc., etc. What are your thoughts on what threatens to become an ethical and employment scandal? Reverend. love that name. Oh gosh. I think it's scandalous that the caring professions can end up being monetized to the extent where people whose volition and a vocation coincide in wanting to help people who are in an unfortunate position find that not only are they being taken advantage of financially, and I'm now referring to the coaches, because of course some counselors, life coaches, psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists do have dubious motives, but a lot of them of their own volition have a vocation which is to help others and to help others lead better lives. And evidently, BetterUp, according to what is being reported, BetterUp has been trying to whittle them down. The coaches are said to be quitting and considering suing. One of them actually said, for a company whose mission is to help empower people throughout the world, they are not walking the walk. Of course they're not. They're BS merchants who are selling a crock of crap, to be crude about it all, packaged as if it's Haagen-Dazs ice cream. It's only when you open it up and realize that it's not ice cream that you're not tempted to taste it. Is it a surprise? Not really, because there is a breed of corporate individual who will make money out of taking Jesus off the cross, taking the fillings out of his teeth, plucking his hairs and packaging and selling them all. That's how distasteful some of these people are, all in the name of helping. I'll continue with the quote. I think there's really questionable ethics going on. They've turned us into a commodity. Of course they have. You always were a commodity, sweetie pie. It's not about helping. It's, oh, isn't that a good idea? There are vulnerable people out there. Isn't it going to be wonderful? All we need to do is present a package, offer to do this, and then cannibalize the whole situation. Surprise, surprise? I'm not surprised. Evidently, the row is about the levels of pay and a social media style rating system that would also impact adversely upon the coaches' fees. So it's not enough that they need the coaches to help the people who think they need help, but they're now going to nickel and dime the coaches so that they don't get their fair recompense. They found a way of whittling down their compensation. One critic said, from an ethical perspective, we are there to coach the client, not to have them press the like button. Well, that's speaking about ethics. But the corporate attitude is social media, BS reigns supreme. They need to press the button so that they can, so the public needs to press the button so that they can then spew forth more of their nonsense, they being the company, and say how fabulous they are, how wonderful they are, how marvelous they are. So come on, sign up, sign up, sign up. Here's some snake oil. Bite, bite, bite. Now, Harry said, speaking on a podcast about mental health, that there's an immense cultural difference between the UK and the US. He said that promoting BetterUp. He suggested that there needs to be a change in people's mindsets from just coping with problems to getting on the front foot and becoming mentally fit. In other words, it's not enough to be healthy, you need to be exploitative, because that's what he's really saying. And I don't agree with that. I think you should be healthy and you shouldn't be exploitative. But then I believe in proper morality. I am not hawking my wares, and nor am I selling my soul in some Mephistophelian bargain. I'm no Dr. Faustus, although it looks as if Harry and the BetterUp team are very Faustian. According to Harry, the cultural differences, they're immense. You talk about it here in California. I'll get my therapist to call your therapist. Excuse me, I mean, is the man mad? But let me continue. Whereas in the UK, it's like therapist? What therapist? Whose therapist? I don't have a therapist. No, I definitely don't. I've never spoken to a therapist. So Harry is suggesting that everybody should hop on the I am mentally ill bandwagon, or there's something wrong with me mentally, or if I have normal human feelings, I should pay for them to be capitalized upon in such a way that companies like BetterUp profit, and I am duped into believing that I am on the front foot when in fact my character is being distorted, so that instead of being a decent person who is satisfied with his or her lot, I, whether I am me or you or anybody else, general I, become an exploitative machine. And I get my therapist to call your therapist. Excuse me. I mean, has this is mental well-being now reduced to I'll get my people to call your people? I mean, it's disgusting, is all I can say. It is disgusting. But let us see what happens, because BetterUp has been doing very well ever since Harry joined it, because Harry has brought royal lustre. And Harry has been selling royal lustre. But royal lustre is going to be very marginalised where Harry and Meghan are concerned. Wait and see. They are already being exposed for what they truly are. Gladys Johnson says, Lady C, Trump said has is whipped. What does it mean? Plus he said the Queen should have discarded them from when they both left the royal. And I've read it out accurately, incidentally. Oh, I try to answer it as best I can. When Trump was saying that Harry was whipped, he omitted to use the word meow, kitty, kitty, come on, kitty, kitty, come on, kitty, come on, you're a nice, sweet kitty, yes, meow. That's what he's whipped by. It's a common expression. And Mr. Trump decided that he was going to spare us the odium of hearing vulgarism, but he didn't mean that she was being the whipper in the literal sense. Although my understanding is, from people who've worked with her, that she has a tongue that is as incisive as a cat-o'-nine tail. So, and I would be very surprised if Harry hasn't received increasing doses of that tongue lashing. But he's henpecked. You know hen, and you know what the male hen is. A female is a hen, and when the hen pecks the rooster, the four-letter word, and leads him around by, Trump said the nose, but nose begins with C in this instance. That's what he meant. And I'm not quite sure what you're asking in terms of the rest of the question. If Mr. Trump was saying that they should have severed relations then and there, I'm not sure I agree with that. QY says, Dear Lady C, I watched the live feed for the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case while the very qualified and credited psychologist gave her testimony. She spoke at length about the traits of borderline personality disorder and histrionic disorder that she had diagnosed Amber Heard with. I have to say, it was as if she was describing Meghan and Harry to the letter. What do you think? I'm going to read out another question and try to answer them in one. Carolyn Rossi says, Hello, Lady C. I was watching the Johnny Depp case today, Tuesday, 27th April. His team had a very brilliant forensic physiology doctor. It took her like 10 minutes or more to list all her qualifications. As she was describing her diagnosis of Amber Heard, I was screaming at my PC screen and jumping up and down because she was describing Meghan to a perfect T. My God, she couldn't have hit the nail on the head any better. Now I see Meghan in a whole new light as how ruthless she really is. Far from what we've all been thinking. Well, maybe you've been thinking. I've made it absolutely clear, including in my book, that Meghan is utterly ruthless. I had a ruthless mother. I know ruthless people when I come across them. And that message that Harry got sent to me that I cover in the last 3 pages of my book was all I needed to know, that I was dealing with somebody who was ruthless beyond that of a barracuda. Meghan is more dangerous than anyone is giving her credit for, and now I am absolutely more afraid for the royal family and somewhat for Harry, as before my thought was always he made his bed and he has to lie in it. But now, knowing what I know now, I'm afraid for his physical safety, more afraid for Catherine, William and their beautiful babies. Well, I have seen bits of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and my instinct has been all along that she is the culprit. And I know from my own personal experience, when you are in a marriage with a violent spouse, at first you don't want anybody to know. The initial reaction is always to cover it up. Then you palliate. You allow them to get away with their false accusations, their outright lies, their maneuverings and manipulations, because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to make a bad thing worse. You are palliating stupidly, but it's a part of the process. I'm not saying he didn't lose his temper, but kicking a cupboard is quite different from kicking a woman. On the other hand, there's ample evidence out of her own mouth that she used to resort to physicality where he was concerned. We have no evidence that Meghan has been resorting to abusive physicality. We know that she's resorted to la grande horizontale physicality. Ooh, yes. Let me show you a good time. Yes. I can flick your light switch like no one else. Yes. That's what Mr. Trump was referring to. But that's not physical abuse. That's the deployment of physical wiles. And we have absolutely no proof whatsoever that Meghan and Harry are in a physically abusive relationship. That doesn't mean that there are not tremendous parallels in personality type between Meghan and Amber Heard. You know, two different species of rose are still roses. You know, sometimes they look very much alike, even though there are differences. And one of the things I learned when I was writing about narcissistic personality disorder in the book I wrote is that most personality disorders have features of other personality disorders. Meghan is clearly very narcissistic and very paranoid. Borderline personality disorder has features of those two elements. So, the diagnosis wasn't that Amber Heard is a narcissist primarily, but clearly she has narcissistic features because histrionic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder both demand that you, the sufferer, let's put it like that, make everybody else suffer because of your constant demands to be the center of attention. That goes along with features of narcissistic personality disorder. Where a primary diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder is given is that people with histrionic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder can have some empathy. They can have some scruples. They're not completely in love with themselves. They may be demanding that you be perpetually in love with them. But narcissism is that you are in love with yourself. I hope that makes it clear. And yes, I hope that poor Mr. Depp gets justice. I could never understand how Mr. Justice Nicol arrived at the conclusions he did off the evidence, unless he took a very narrow view of the fact that a man who was abused tremendously over a period of time, who then inadvertently head-butted a woman, was guilty of her accusations, notwithstanding the fact that she carried a load of maybe £7,000 and he carried a load of 2 ounces. Of course, it's almost impossible to figure out what Mr. Justice Nicol, why he came to the judgment he came to. But it is possible that he came to the judgment he came to on the basis of the fact that when Johnny Depp was being as abused as he systematically was by this head case, this rather nasty piece of work, this rather sad and sick woman who actually deserves some compassion, because people with borderline personality disorder, they genuinely suffer. The problem is everybody else suffers more. But they are the perpetrators. And if a victim pushes away somebody who is attacking them, that's not actually initiating untoward behavior. That's protecting yourself. And I suspect that's where Nicol, shall we say, misdirected himself in his judgment. But it's speculation. He hasn't said why, and we can only speculate. But I hope this judge gets the full picture and exonerates Johnny Depp. Ali Sangri says, what do you think about the way Amber Heard treated Johnny Depp? I think it's deplorable. I think that she targeted him. I think her lust for fame and attention are such that had he been Jesus Christ himself, she'd have found fault with him. Because that's what people with her personality disorders do. Even the perfect become sullied and bastardized and denigrated, because it's the sick person who cannot help herself who creates the situation. It's very sad. Borderline personality disorder is a truly awful thing to suffer from. I have far more sympathy for people with borderline personality disorder than I do for people who are classical narcissists. Let's hope Johnny Depp gets justice. Kawa Kuldip says, Lady C, this YouTube channel of yours today shows you defensive of the Harkles, and in so doing you are actually condoning or defensive of the Harkles. I'm sorry, but that's my interpretation. Correct me if I'm erring in my interpretation. I call a spade too, like you. Your fan. Thank you very much. I think when you use the word defensive, you mean that I am defending. And yes, in my previous video, I defended the fact that Harry and Meghan have rights and those rights need to be respected. I don't apologize for defending the rights of people whose behavior is objectionable. We all have rights, and we all need to respect each other's rights. That's what civilization and true morality are all about. Isabella Ortiz says, I have no idea why people believe that black women love Meghan. I am of mixed race, black and Latin, and my black friends hate her. Well, I'm glad to see that they have some judgment in the matter. She does all of us a disservice claiming racism that she has never experienced. I couldn't agree more. She has never claimed to be black until it served her purpose. She has never ever dated a black man or had one as a love interest in the few television shows she's been in. We cannot stand this woman. We often laugh while in the beauty shop about the shocked face on Harry when he found out what a hair weave is. Are you referring to the hair of the 1,000 virgins that tumbled down everywhere like Medusa gone mad? Harry could have married a black woman as black as coal, and she would have been welcomed into the royal family. And we know this. It was Meghan's attitude that was the problem, not her colour. Isabella Ortiz, I thank you for your message. It is gratefully received and appreciatively conveyed to everyone else, because you have succinctly said what many other women of colour say. Well, I have a lot more ground to cover, but this has taken rather longer than I thought it would. So I'm going to stop at this point, because I could go on quite a long way further, and I do not wish to tax anybody. So I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of interest to you. If you like, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and keep the questions coming in. And in the next video, I will cover some of the other ground that we have run out of time with today. Thank you so much. God bless and goodbye.